Hello and welcome back to the Volkswizard channel, and welcome to another video on my recently acquired Mk7.5 Golf GTD Estate with a massive 127,000 miles on the clock. Now, in the last video I drove it all the way to Lancashire with no problems to collect the second-hand BBS wheels and Pirelli P0 Nero GT tyres, and that would normally mean the next video would be a straightforward fitting video where I show you what they look like on the car. Well, that's coming later in the video. Rest assured, I really want to see what they look like as well. But I've had a problem with one of the tyres, which is not repairable, and because Pirelli have discontinued the P0 Nero GT, I can't buy a new one, and if I want a set of matching tyres on the car, which I do, the only solution would be to buy 4 brand new ones at a cost of about like 600 and something pounds. There is a solution, however, which involves quite a bit of effort, but it should save me about 450 to 500 pounds. I'll explain that later. Firstly though, let me explain to you what's wrong with this tyre and how I missed it when I collected the wheels and tyres. Now, it's that time of the video where I like to remind you guys how you can support the channel. The easiest way to do that is to subscribe. And that's even more important right now because there are lots of great videos in the pipeline. For example, a goodbye video to the Up GTI, a full review of the RTR shooting brake, part 2 of the Italian Job road trip, and I'm working with a Volkswagen Group brand I've never worked with before, which should produce some interesting content. Also, I've got underbody protection videos for the Clubs 4S and the Cayman GT4 as we're heading into winter. As for offering me cars, big thanks to everybody who responded to the last video. Hopefully I've replied to everybody. For now, we're going to restrict what we're buying to just 7.5 GTI Performance and GTI TCR. Cars need to be average mileage or below, in exceptionally good condition, with a full service history and completely unmodified. If you've got something like that, then email me directly, andrew@volkswizard.co.uk. Okay, so what's wrong with this perfectly good looking tyre with loads of tread left, no chunks out the sidewall? Doesn't look flat, does it? Well, unfortunately it is flat. There's a puncture there. If you look inside the paint spot, you'll see a tiny little pinprick. Because of its location, my tyre guys say it's not repairable. Others on Instagram have said it is. When we get the tyre swapped over for a good one, we'll see what my tyre guys say then. But I've written this tyre off now. I don't want a repair tyre that's a bit iffy, so I need to get another one. Now, how did I miss this when I collected them? Well, they were lined up like this, and with no air in, it would look like it had air in it. Did it have air in it at the time? It's quite possible anyway, because it's a slow puncture. It'd have at least an hour or two before it went flat. Normally, you'd roll them to your car, and you'd notice that then, but because he had the original boxes, which was very unusual, we put them in the boxes because there's no room for the wheels outside the boxes and the boxes, and then I just carried them to the car. Now, I could have had my money back from eBay, but I didn't want it because I thought they were pretty good value anyway. I just need to find another tyre, second-hand or an old stock one. I looked on eBay, there's not an awful lot, but I put a search anyway for a 235 3519 P0 Nero GT, and it came up with some yesterday. They got 2, they're about 6 mil, and they're £140 for the pair, which is about the price of one new tyre, but one that wouldn't match the ones I've already got. So it seemed to be a good deal for me, as long as they're good tyres, they're not damaged, which they don't seem to be. The guy seems pretty proper, but then I said that about this deal, and this went a bit wrong, didn't it? So anyway, let's get in the car now. It's 100 miles to Rotherham where they are. I know it's a long way, but it's about 30 quid worth of diesel return trip, a couple 100 miles, so it should be worth the effort. Okay, now we're starting off with 80 miles range. I've been driving pretty sedately, but you can see where the fuel marker is down there, so just to the left of the last white marker. I'm going to put £30 in, about 155-ish a litre. We'll see if that can get us all the way to Rotherham and back. Well guys, welcome to Rotherham, and yeah, it wasn't too bad a drive, pretty much 100 miles dead. Really good fuel economy, got 60 for the first time out of this thing, so that's great. And the tyres look like they're worth the trip, so exactly the same as the ones on the wheel, 2 of them, and the only reason they were replaced was because the guy had replaced his front tyres and these were off the back of his car, and they're obviously not worn as much, so they look mint. So let's go and get them fitted on to this wheel. Okay, we're at Selly Tyre Sturchley, my favourite tyre centre. We've got Jack on the machine, not on the jack. I bet you get bored of that joke, don't you?
Oh, I get every day.
So, the puncture then.
Yeah.
So it's only a little pinprick, but it's all about the location.
Right there. Too close to the edge to be repairable. Okay. Law is essential 75% of the tread. Anything to do with the shoulder or the sidewall is a no-go, unfortunately.
Okay. But you say some people might repair it, yeah, but at a reputable tyre centre.
You might find some places that would do it, but it's, you know, it's not recommended.
Okay, good. Well, my trip to Rotherham wasn't wasted then, so.
What that is.
Okay, so we're back then. I did 221.8 miles if you look at the trip computer there, and that took me just over 4.5 hours. And we've got 90 miles range, and then the fuel needle is pretty much where it was when we started. I put £30 worth of diesel in at 160.9 per litre. That's £7.30 a gallon, would you believe? That's 4.1 gallons to do 221.8 miles. That's about 54 to the gallon, which is within the tolerance, I think, for the trip computer. I could probably get a little bit more out anyway. So I think this trip computer is accurate to within a few percent. That's really, really good. I'm very happy with that. I didn't have the aircon on because it actually wasn't warm enough, and I didn't have to turn the headlights off because it's been bright enough today. So nothing particularly fancy has been done to do that. And I came back through Birmingham. I should point that out. I didn't go back down the M1, M69 back into Warwickshire. I went into Birmingham on the A38 all the way into Selly, then back out again onto the M40. So yeah, a pretty good show. Right, now the bit you've been waiting for. Let's get the pesky wheels onto my Golf GTD Estate and see what it looks like. Will it actually look better than it did on the original wheels? Because I've got to say, the more I look out of my window at the car on these wheels, the more I like it. So there's potentially a step backwards. But yeah, BBS can't really harm a Golf, can they? Well, let's find out now and get them on the car. What do you think then, guys? Now, I haven't made the mistake of showing them before I've driven the car. I've done a few miles to get the suspension to settle. And as you can see, even with its standard suspension, the GTD sits really rather nicely. I actually don't think it needs lowering that much. I'm actually thinking now we'll keep the standard springs and put some better dampers on, but we can always revert back to that if it's too low or too crashy with the new suspension on anyway. Now, it's not just how it looks from the side that's important. We've got ET44 wheels. I think they're 8.5J, so all the width over standard, the 1/2 inch, is on the outside of the wheels, so it fills the arches just to perfection. What do you think of the colour then? So even though it's a platinum silver, it's actually, I'd say, lighter than the bodywork, and that's pretty good because I wanted them to be different to the colour of the bodywork. So for me, that works really well. Of all the wheels I fitted to cars on YouTube, I think this one has had the most impact on the car they've been fitted to. I wanted BBS XRs for ages. When I had my Golf R Estate, I wanted XRs but couldn't afford them. When I got my Club Sport S, I wanted these for the track wheels, but the racing line ones were that little bit cheaper. But now I've got them, I think they're on the right car. And yeah. Anyway, let me know, as ever, what you think in the comments. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who say they like the originals, and actually I like the originals as well. But I was worried this would make it look worse, and I don't think that's the case. But as I say, let me know in the comments now. Because this is not Instagram, let's go for a drive and see how they've affected the way the car performs. Okay, so we've got 19-inch wheels now with 235 wide tyres instead of 225, and a sidewall of 35 instead of 40. So we should have a little bit more grip, which is important with the GTD because it's got the same levels of torque as the GTI Performance, but we don't have the VAQ differential. So I'm pretty sure the grip's going to be better. I'm not sure how these Pirellis will perform, but can they be worse than Lancels now? And that was a pretty good tyre, to be honest. Road noise, I really don't want to be much worse, because one of the joys of this car is how quiet it is. It's such a relaxing cruiser. I think there's a little bit more tyre noise, but it's not terrible. A bit wet on the roads as well, which tends to create a bit more noise. Ride quality then. So we've got less sidewall, so we've got less elasticity in that sidewall, which can have a detrimental effect on ride quality. But actually, this corner, which is quite bumpy, no, it feels all right. There's still the float there in the suspension, but it doesn't feel crashier. That's good. We're running 38 psi in the tyres, but you can play around with tyre pressures to suit you. What the manufacturer suggests is often there for emissions purposes, to make the car use less fuel. That's another thing. Will this affect the MPG of the car? Well, we've got some pretty good data on its efficiency already in the 2 longer journeys it's done, so it'll be pretty obvious if it has. And to be honest, I'll be disappointed, because I think 56-ish is okay. Any less than that, well, especially with diesel costing more, is it worth it? But you can't get a GTI Estate, so I guess in the case of this car, it is. The next job is to change the suspension. I'm pretty open to suggestions. I haven't settled on any particular brand, actually. All I know is I don't really want to fit coilovers, so it's going to be a better spring and damper. And there's quite a few choices actually for GTD Estate. But if you've got any suggestions, let me know. If you're from a suspension manufacturer or retailer and you want to get involved in this project, then get in touch, and I'm sure we can work together and create some really good content. As ever, guys, thanks for watching this Volkswagen video. As I said earlier, keep subscribing, because there's loads of great stuff coming over the next few weeks, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.